The KCSN Live Postgame Show with DJ Kissel and Ken Swanson is about to begin. The best postgame coverage you can find. Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network. Live on the 101 The Fox Facebook page, KC Sports Network's YouTube channel, and tomorrow, well, wherever you find your podcasts. This is the KCN Live Postgame Show with BJ Kissel and Ken Swanson from the Bullpen Bar and Grill in Overland Park.
The Kansas City Chiefs lose 38-20 at home in embarrassing fashion to the Buffalo Bills. Another tough game. What's up, everybody? My name is Kent Swanson. We are at the Bullpen Bar and Grill here in Overland Park. They've been a phenomenal place to watch games, and it's been really fun to be a part of them. This is kind of our temporary home for now. We're going to be at the Kingdom Bar and Grill soon, looking at November, but this place has been wonderful. Really enjoyed getting to hang out with my dear pals Craig Stout, Maddie Lane, both in town today to witness this game. Yikes. Wish we were doing it under better circumstances. We'll talk to them in a second. But, we've got a lot to cover today. We're going to talk about tomorrow's headlines. We're going to talk about some of the key observations in the game. We're going to get to Andy Reid's press conference and Patrick Mahomes' press conference. Going to be interesting to hear from them and more. Plenty to cover with my dear pals, Maddie Lane, Craig Stout. Gentlemen, what is good? What's going on with you guys?
Well, this is the second time I've been in here and to watch a game live, and they've lost both games. So I think I just can no longer come back to the great state.
You're not invited back.
Yeah, I think I'm officially out because this is not going well. And this one significantly worse than the last one. I feel a lot worse after this game.
They do such a good job of taking care of us here, and we repay them with losses. This is not good.
Well, you can find our show here on 101 The Fox's Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. We are all on these platforms so you can watch the game. Make sure you're asking us some questions. Send in your comments. We'd love to hear what you guys got going on. And again, we'll be hearing from Andy Reid's presser here in a little bit, but we got to start with tomorrow's headlines. I think that's a great place to get going. And we'll start with this: explosive plays.
Yeah.
Given up by the defense really kind of just put this game out of reach largely, Craig.
It really did. And in the first half even, I think we saw repeatedly this defense was just unable to keep a lid on the defense. Dan Swanson responsible for a lot. L'Jarius Sneed gave up big plays. You can't do that and still not play perfect on offense. It was just bad. It really was bad. They allowed way too many explosive plays on defense.
And they didn't bring any on the offensive side themselves. So I think that kind of has to play a part. When you're giving up explosive plays defensively, you're not making any on the offensive side. There's no good thing that's going to happen at the end of the game.
No, that's definitely true. And if you look, a lot of these, a lot of times they'll say, that the team that creates the most explosive plays wins the game. And in this case, it was definitely the case. Josh Allen really didn't have a ton of completions in the first half, but he was just making big chunk plays with a lot of consistency. All right, storyline number 2. Headline number 2 that we're probably going to be seeing in Kansas City if we were in charge of the KC Star. The offense out of sync for the entirety of the game. It was a lot of inconsistencies in a lot of different places, Maddie.
It starts, I think, with the protection the first half. I don't think it looked great. Patrick Mahomes, for kind of the second week in a row now, maybe third week if you want to extend it back, wasn't super comfortable, and they just never got into a rhythm. Mahomes is shorting some passes, receivers are dropping them, and there wasn't that vertical element that we're used to seeing out of the Chiefs offense. Just everything about it just looked a little off sync from the very beginning.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is a trend with Mahomes this year, and it's concerning. It's really concerning. So obviously still a great quarterback, a player that you want on your team. We love him. We know he'll get it rectified, but very concerning. This might have been, again, I know we said it a lot, his worst game.
I know it feels like we've said that a couple times this week.
It's
There's a lot of disorganization there, and you're starting to see some things add up. And we're gonna have plenty of time to talk about some of this stuff in depth. But I think just at a high level, you're looking at this and you're going, man, this offense. There's obviously high moments, but there are just some disjointed messes in the midst of a lot of really quality production too. Like last week was really high productivity. This week. Yeah, all over the place, just all over the place, and it starts with Patrick Mahomes too. And we'll get into that a little bit. All right, I think this is headline number 3, and this is kind of where I want to go with this. I think it's time to worry about this team. Yeah. I really do. I'm starting to see some stuff that is showing up at a pretty great consistency when it comes to both sides of this football. And self-inflicted wounds, self-inflicted mistakes, a lot of turnovers. Defensively, we know the issues that side of the ball is experiencing. I think you're looking at both sides of this football. It's disorganized, and I think it's time to start worrying about the outlooks of this team's ability to take this team where they want it to go, the AFC Championship, to the Super Bowl. I think we just saw the number 1 contender of the AFC come into Arrowhead and shellac the Kansas City Chiefs.
They did do that. I think the big thing right now is you look at this team as a whole, it doesn't look like a good football team. They look like a bad football team that's being pushed along by one of the best quarterbacks in the league, one of the best tight ends, and one of the best wide receivers. That's it. That's what this team is. It's a bad football team that is getting pushed forward by specific elements, and it just shows up week after week. And the downside right now is they're not doing anything to address it. They're not really showing any signs of fixing it at this point in time. The defense, we'll get to it later. They did show some signs of life in the second half, but it was once Buffalo kind of started to pull the throttle back a little bit. The offense never got in rhythm. It's just nothing seems to be lining up for this team. It's a lot of, hey, you're our 3 stars. Go make everything happen.
Yeah, it's sloppy. There's penalties. There's sloppiness. There's just inconsistencies in the offense. And there's reason to worry about that because you need them to be perfect with the way that the defense is playing. And the margins of error are so slim. We finally saw it catch up. There's reason to worry because this is exactly what that looks like when you're playing against a contender and you don't take care of business like this.
Yeah, there's a lot of things, and I think it's going to start from the top, from a leadership perspective. This team needs to, the top end leadership that is in this organization that we've seen lead this team to a lot of success. It starts with them. And you know what? You know who's the leader? Fairway Independent Mortgage. Fairway Independent Mortgage makes the home loan process as simple as possible by guiding you through every step, just as they've done for the past 25 years. Call Jennifer Dixon at 816-390-8898. That's 816-390-8898. Great rates, a focus on customer service, and the fastest turn times in the industry. Fairway Independent Mortgage. The Chiefs could have used some of that kind of leadership on the field today. Didn't get enough of it across the board. Coaching, players, and we've got plenty to talk about that. We're going to hopefully hear from Andy Reid here in a little bit. Speaking of leadership, we're hoping to hear from Andy Reid in his presser here in a little bit. Okay, so let's talk a little bit here. I want to go kind of back and just kind of maybe look here at the defensive side of the football a little bit, Craig.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that we are seeing the kind of mistakes being made by veterans.
Yes.
And I think that from a high level, I'm looking at going, we've talked about this a lot on the show too. This is year 3 of the Steve Spagnuolo defense. There's a lot of players that have been here for an extended period of time. Mm-hmm. Can you make any sense of this right now?
No, frankly, no. That's why these guys are on the field. That's why Anthony Hitchens is here. And Anthony Hitchens has his back completely turned to a swing pass in the middle of the field.
3rd week in a row.
It's why, Dan Swanson is on the field and he can't play a deep enough safety to keep everything on top of it. He almost gave up one of those last week. Ended up in an incompletion. Almost gave up one of those. Gave up massive big plays this week. The reason those guys are on the field is because they're veterans, because they know the scheme, because they can help line up and they can help this defense to right the ship when things start to go south. They shouldn't be the reason why this defense is south right now. And frankly, they are.
Well, that's the problem. You're not dealing with just young guys with a lot of talent that are making mistakes. That's there. There's clearly, L'Jarius Sneed's been part of a couple coverage mix-ups. Yeah. You've seen, Rashad Fenton made some nice plays. He's had some missed plays. Mike Hughes, those guys, that's acceptable. You expect that to happen. You don't expect Anthony Hitchens to look as bad as he's ever looked in a Chiefs uniform. And it's not just physically. He looks mentally lost. Dan Sorensen, I don't know what's going on there. He's blowing coverages. He's blowing tackles. He's just playing bad coverage even when he knows where he's supposed to be. Those two guys specifically, they're the safety nets. Hitchens, Sorensen, they're not out there to make plays. They're not out there to be a foundation. They are the safety nets that get everybody else in the right spot, and they play a safe brand of football. Right now, they're a problem. Yeah. They're both net negatives on the field at all times.
It's not even just the coverage perspective for Dan Sorensen, which, I mean, he got beat bad on a double move. But you saw a couple really big plays with Zach Moss. Dan Sorensen one-on-one with Zach Moss needing to make a tackle. And he didn't even really do much in the way of making it difficult, like not even really giving his teammates an opportunity to rally to the football.
Right.
I mean, there was little resistance at all. In good position, one at the line of scrimmage, 1 yard past the line of scrimmage rolling down. Didn't look confident enough to try to break down and make a tackle. Mm-hmm. Didn't really look confident enough, to be sticking his nose in the box. And it's just so uncharacteristic because this is a guy that has hung his hat on doing the little things and being willing to do things. And those seem like some of the traits that have kept him on the field over a guy like Juan Thornhill, for instance.
I mean, and that's why Steve Spagnuolo has put him on the field. I mean, he says it in pressers right now. He's like, listen, we've been through this before with Dan. We know he'll rectify it. We know that he'll right the ship. We're 5 weeks in. We're 5 weeks in.
But he's
now.
wrecking the ship.
He's wrecking the ship. I mean, he really is. Now, Juan Thornhill was playing on 2 of those big pass plays. So it's not as simple as just put Juan Thornhill in for Dan Sorensen. There may be another personnel change that may have to occur. Right now, though, it's a net negative. It really is a net negative.
Well, and I think that's the big thing. It's one thing when you're having physical limitations from certain players. Unfortunately, when you have to build a team at some point in time, you're going to have some guys that are less talented physically. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. That's going to be Anthony Hitchens. If that's going to be Daniel Sorensen, that's fine. As long as they can do what they need to do mentally around that. And that's what they're missing right now. Hitchens looks very lost playing Mike linebacker right now. Yeah, he's having some trouble getting younger guys lined up, but you've seen it every week for the past 3 weeks. He has to stop and almost trip over himself in the middle of the field because he's not sure where he's going. Dan Sorensen's blowing coverages, getting beat on double moves. He's doing all sorts of wild stuff, and I feel like this has to start from the top down. I mean, something's got to start changing with this. On just the defensive side of the ball, we got more offensive stuff coming later, but just on the defensive side of the ball, these things have to change or it's not going to get any better.
And we haven't even mentioned pass rush because, frankly, that's about how often it showed up. I mean, we're this far into it. The pass rush is not there. And you got a lot of money invested in that defensive line. Obviously, Chris Jones did not play today. Frank Clark did. They just didn't get home. There was no real pass rush. They didn't affect Josh Allen, and Josh Allen was able to sit back there and carve up the Chiefs defense. It's all just, frankly, unacceptable. It really is. And unfortunately, it's not necessarily getting better because teams aren't trading away prime pass rushers or anything like that at the trade deadline. That sort of thing just isn't happening. So a lot of these solutions have to come internally on defense.
And I'll say, I don't think Chris Jones is the difference in a win or a loss for this game.
I'm not sure that he makes enough of a difference.
Not even a little bit. And I don't know if that's entirely an indictment on Chris Jones because I still think he's a very talented player, but I think there's just a lot of issues, with this roster and the talent level. I think there's just a big talent issue, and a guy like Chris Jones, who definitely can affect the passer, I don't think he's doing enough to overcome some of the limitations that, the second and third level of this defense that we're definitely seeing outside of just the pass rush. So there's whole issues here, and you gotta, I've been throwing the idea out here. I'm not sure the Chiefs don't need to completely blow this defense up next year.
Yeah. And they've tried. Like, there have been situations where they've tried to add guys, tried to move along with some of that stuff, and there's just so many spots that need filled.
Well, and I think we talked about it a little bit. Like, where are you building the foundation of this defense? Who's the foundation? Who is the guy you build this defense around right now? Because it's not going to be, most likely not going to be Frank Clark moving forward, just given the uncertainty of his availability. Is it going to be Chris Jones? I don't think his impact has been felt enough so far this year to feel confident that you can build a scheme, a structure around him. And if it's Tyrann Mathieu, I think there's some ups and downs there. But if that's the case, he should already have been signed.
Yeah.
Like, if you're Tyrann Mathieu and you're seeing some of the other stuff that's going on in this team right now, this defensive scheme, effort levels, the blown coverages, how much do you really want to come back right now just to, continue? We all saw how upset he was. Yeah. The pictures are going around. His arms are being thrown up after every single play because he doesn't know what's happening. Like, who do you bring back to be the foundation of this team if that's the case?
Yeah. All right, well, it is time to take a look at some of the shows, on the college side that we have here at KC Sports Network. Take a look. All right, it's time for our Big Cedar best drive of the game. We're going to kind of cheat here a little bit. This is like a drive and then maybe a nice 3-wood off the fairway right afterwards. You know, 2-putt or, getting 2 onto the green on a par 5. We're going to go with the back-to-back stops by the defense to start the second half.
Ooh.
And I think this was, it was a good response by the defense after a horrendous first half, giving up a bunch of explosive plays, Craig.
Yes, absolutely. You wanted to see that out of the Chiefs defense coming out of the half, the Bills getting the ball first. I think everybody was kind of writing this off as a little bit, it was not going to go well. Chiefs defense come out, get 2 terrific stops, put the ball back in the hands of the offense twice. I mean, that's all you could ever ask for to try and get the Chiefs back into this game. But then what happened, Maddie?
Well, and then the offense took over. And, the first drive we talked about, they were a little out of sync, and they came out on that, first drive, didn't work out. They go relatively quick, and then they're faced with, I believe it was a 4th and 2.
4th and 4, I believe.
4th and 4? Okay, well, 4th and 4 is a little bit better, but still bad. Your defense hasn't stopped them besides once all game. They come out, it's 4th and 4. They punt the football away. It really seemed like that was your chance to start stealing points back. That's where you thought you were going to get it. The Chiefs punt, I understand that's Andy Reid's nature. He's a little conservative in his coaching just like that. So I get the punt, but to punt it away after getting a 3-and-out, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
A 3-and-out. That was demoralizing. And then you get another stop. The defense shows back up. They give you the ball back again. Unfortunately, you then throw a pick 6 off of a tip pass, goes right through Tyreek Hill's hands, right into Micah Hyde's arms, runs it back. Not great.
It was still a good response by the defense after a really rough first half, a good adjustment by Steve Spagnuolo and that defense. And that was the big drive of the game presented by Big Cedar Golf. And Big Cedar Lodge is quickly becoming known as America's next great golf destination.
Yes.
With some of the best designed courses in the country, nestled down in the Ozarks. It's exactly what you need when you know you need it. Ozark National, Big Cedar, Paynes Valley, Buffalo Ridge, Top of the Rock, BigCedar.com. Go check it out. See all the courses that they got there. I want to play all of them. Believe me, golf obsessed. Golf Kent
Golf Kent's taking over.
Is very excited. But yeah, go plan your trip now. Big Cedar Lodge. They've got every golfing course you could imagine. It's beautiful out there. It's wonderful, and I'm hoping to get out there sooner rather than later.
It might have to become Golf Maddie to get away from some of these Chiefs games. This is the way they're going to keep going.
Maddie, this is you need to take up golf just so you can kind of create the stress reliever that I have with golf.
Yeah, when I played golf, I was definitely not stressed out there. Yeah, sure.
Hey, if you don't take it too seriously. We are hoping to hear from Andy Reid here pretty soon, and we are trying to get that going here shortly. But special shout out, thank you to Big Cedar Golf and all that they've done to support KC Sports Network, this fine show. And also thanks to the Bullpen Bar and Grill. They've been great. They've been really supportive and really helpful. And we're really excited to be partnering with the Bullpen Bar and Grill, but also the Kingdom Bar and Grill, our future long-term home for KC Sports Network postgame shows. If you notice, we did a halftime show as well. So yeah, we're excited to be partnering with them. It was a great atmosphere. It was, and I think the lightning delay kind of killed the momentum. Oh, and being down 2 scores kind of maybe killed that a little bit too.
I enjoyed it. I think the delay worked out well because I think every Chiefs fan in here was a little demoralized at halftime. So I think getting that extra time just to process everything that was happening.
You embraced it.
There was a lot of energy in here at the bullpen when the second half started. Then the Chiefs came out. Derek Nottie made that first down stop for no yards. I think this place was electric. And then, the Chiefs punted the ball back. We've already been there.
No. See, it was the stop. It was getting off the field. It was that big stop by L'Jarius Sneed and that 3 and out.
Yeah.
This place erupted. It really did.
We were ready.
Yeah, we were ready. We were ready for the conversion, and then we gave the ball. How often do we get to say give the ball back to Patrick Mahomes?
Do you? Okay. Well, we are here. We're going to be hearing from Andy Reid at his post-game press conference right now. Here we go.
In this league, by doing those things that we're doing. Anyways, with that, time, George.
Do you see any thread in the turnovers that's similar, or anything you can kind of explain why they're happening?
Each one's different. I mean, no. I mean, other than they've got to stop for us to be competitive, and that's my responsibility. So I got to make sure the team plays the right way, and right now we're not playing the right way. So.
Coach, did you see this coming? Is there any way to see a team that's been so good, as good as you guys have been over a long period of time, hitting a rough stretch like this?
No, I mean, I didn't see this coming. And not tonight, this game tonight, I came in thinking we had a chance to win the game, and we didn't handle ourselves the right way. And so that's my responsibility, and to get that right. And I look forward to when both sides of the ball play well together, because we could be a real good football team.
Coach, Daniel Swanson appeared to be on the bad end of 2 deep plays. Is that a matter of miscommunication back there? What exactly happened on that play?
Yeah, I'll know more after I talk to Spags and take a look at the film on it. So.
What did you tell the players in the locker room after that? Like, how dejected were they? This is the first time they lost an Arrowhead. Like, this is long.
Yeah, no, it was. They're embarrassed by it. We didn't play well, and so we all are. I mean, that's you surely don't want to play that way anytime, let alone at home, and we've got to do better. And so from the coaches on down to the players, we got to do better.
What's most frustrating about this particular start at 2-3?
Yeah, so mistakes. Those are things that frustrate you when you know that we can do better on turnovers and penalties, big plays. I know what we're capable of, and I see that. We just have to get that done. And so as coaches and players, we got to get that done.
And it seemed like you guys had some momentum there at the end. The rest of the pass.
Yeah, it's a shame that penalty does that. Yeah, at that particular time on what I thought was a pretty good tackle. Yeah, so I mean, that's a shame. That's a shame that happens. We had the momentum coming back our way, and it's not the first time, but that's it's a shame.
Did it look like they called the play correctly? I mean, have you seen enough replays of it to tell if the refs made the right call on that one?
Yeah, it's a shame that penalty happened.
Coach Patrick, it looked at the times he was overthrowing receivers and throwing balls to the ground. Did you see anything in his throw motion tonight?
No, we weren't on the same page. We were not on the same page at times with where the receivers were going, where Pat was thinking they were going to be, and we've got to do better with that. We got to make sure that takes place.
A couple more guys.
It seems like there's some communication issues on both sides of the ball. Do you see that as well? Just kind of, it seems like with relative little turnover, especially on defense.
Yeah. So when things aren't going right, that's it's not necessarily communication as much as it is the execution part of it, and then maybe trying too hard to make something happen. Whether it's gaining an extra yard, whether it's trying to make a throw, tip ball, lineman keeping a hand down on it, or handing it off. It's one of all these things. I don't know if that's necessarily communication, but it comes across that way. But I think people know what they're doing. It's just you got to do it, and you can't you can't go above what you're supposed to do. Just let it happen, the play happen.
Last one.
Did you just sense when things didn't go as well as you wanted to in the first, second quarter, the guys were pressing multiple things? Particularly on offense, it seemed like they could force some things
I mean, that's a possibility. I didn't necessarily feel that, but that's a possibility. I mean, it kind of comes back to the question here. So, I mean, it's, we maybe we're trying to. Maybe there is something to that we're trying to. I know the third quarter, we came out and we were sound defensively and played well. Guys were flying around. There was certain energy, and offensively, we didn't take care of business there. We drove it down the field and then gave it to them. So, you got to put it together. Both sides have to play well. When you're playing a good team, both sides have to play well. And so, that's what, keeps me going on that. We're going to figure this out and get that done. And when that happens, we'll have a good thing going.
All right, thanks to our friends at KCTV5 for that footage. And thank you to everybody watching on the 101 The Fox Facebook page. Thank you for watching on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, wherever you're watching. We really appreciate you all spending some time with us here, reacting viscerally, I might say, to the Andy Reid postgame, the postgame presser. And now we're going to go ahead and listen to Patrick Mahomes after the Chiefs loss.
Expect anybody to be.
It's actually Tyrann Mathieu.
Oh, Tyrann Mathieu.
I mean, I do that on good players as well. I always have my hands in there, but yeah, kind of embarrassing.
How do you explain what happened tonight? You see the same issues keep popping up over the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I think we honestly, I think we're just beating ourselves. If you really look back at it, you go back to the Ravens game, miscommunication, blown coverages, Chargers game, kind of the same, thing. And then tonight, I think most of the explosive pass plays were guys just running, wide open down the field. So obviously we don't practice that. You know what I mean? Our coaches don't teach that. Just got to find a way to dig deep, man. Every team we play wants to beat us, and they want to beat us bad. You know what I mean? So I think if we have to understand that, we come into these kind of games.
In the first year, it seemed Steve back in 2019, the first year, it seemed like that there was some understanding that those types of things would happen as you guys launched this scheme. The fact that it's happening now, while you guys have been together for 3 years, can you pinpoint why that would be?
I mean, well, I think for one, you can't keep every player, so our room has changed, the first year to the second year to even this year. So there's some new faces. It's definitely not an excuse. I feel like we practice really hard. We detail our work. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is. Obviously, we're not going to give up. I'm not going to give up. Our coaches aren't going to give up. And it's still a long season for us. I mean, obviously we don't want to be 2-3. That's not our expectations. But we do have a lot of football left to play. And so, you kind of put these games behind you and just look forward to kind of turning the page, going forward. Have you talked about, after the Baltimore loss, after looking at your maybe, so to speak, what you all are seeing on film coming out of these losses and then just immediately coming out the top? What are teams doing that you all are, that is giving posing problems for? Just something that they're beating on the line of scrimmage, and then
No, I don't think it's that at all. Obviously, those guys get paid too; they get coached up too. But if you really look back at it, it's missed tackles, it's blown coverages, and that's really like kind of the theme, So if we could stop some of these tackles, teams are in third and long. If we don't miscommunicate on a third down, then we're off the field. We get the ball back to our offense. So we just got to find a way to stop the bleeding when it's happening, and then try our best to get it right. And I think you look back on it too. I don't think we have a turnover the last 3 weeks. So that's a big part of this game too, getting the ball back to your offense.
I mean, with the way you guys.
After the Chiefs 38-20 loss. Again, thank you to KCTV5 for them and their coverage of the post-game pressers. Appreciate them. I had a couple interesting thoughts from, hearing from both Andy and Tyrann. And I think the first one both of them used the word embarrassing.
Yep.
How fitting. That feels like the exact word that I think we all probably thought the exact same thing at some point during that game, maybe a few times, Maddie.
Absolutely. And it's good to hear people, to see Coach come out and say that, to see Tyrann Mathieu come out and say that. The unfortunate thing is I think that's kind of a buzzword that they have used in the past after bad performances. And sometimes it does turn around afterwards. So, you do have that to hang your hat on. But I almost just feel like that's a good buzzword to kind of gloss over and not get to what the root of the issue is, which obviously they're not going to tell you in a post-game press conference.
Sure. No, they're not gonna tell you that. Just like Andy Reid's not gonna criticize a referee. Andy Reid did not get fined in that press conference, by the way.
It was unfortunate.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It was unfortunate that game happened.
Yeah, exactly.
For being honest.
Yeah.
I did think something interesting that Tyrann Mathieu said is, he was kind of talking about, how, there's different faces and different names and stuff in the last, from year 1 to year 2 to year 3 is like, how many core players have they lost though? Like you're talking about, I'm sorry. Oh, God forbid. I'm no offense to Damian Wilson, but God forbid they lose Damian Wilson.
Listen, I would take Damian Wilson.
I know, but
I'm just saying.
Are we going to act like he's just a game changer and all of a sudden this defense gets better? Bashad Breeland, or do we think he's changing the outlook of this defense significantly?
He blows a lot less coverages.
That's true. Emmanuel Ogba would.
Oh,
okay, there we go.
That one hurts.
But was he a core member? I do want to stick with Tyrann. Something he said that I actually thought was really good. Every team they play wants to beat them and wants to beat them badly.
They do.
This is very obvious when you watch the Bills celebrate on the sideline or after every single play. But what strikes me is I almost feel like the Chiefs don't handle this very well. The Chiefs aren't handling not being feared. The Chiefs aren't handling being potentially an underdog very well. They are now the top dogs, and I don't think offensively, defensively, coach-wise, they're not handling it well. They're not treating it. They're not coming out and using that to their advantage. They look like a team that isn't sure that they are supposed to be better or how to handle every team's best punch every single week.
We talked about that earlier this season. The Chiefs put pressure on teams and try and make them buckle under the pressure. It's not happening. They can't get up on it. They can't get ahead. They can't put that pressure on, and we're seeing what happens.
Feels like the Chiefs embraced being the hunted a little bit more last year than this year. And I don't see the same kind of championship swagger that we've seen from this organization in the past.
That's it. It's gone.
It's gone.
It is.
I kind of said it was time to worry. That's part of what I worry about. Is it does not feel like that championship DNA exists there. And there's not enough players there holding themselves accountable to that standard. And there's some players that their physical abilities are not what we saw 2 years ago.
Right.
The core of this team is 2 years older. Frank Clark's been through a litany of issues. So the version that we saw of him, Chris Jones, they're moving him out of position because they want to try to get him more consistent from down to down.
Mm-hmm.
That's the truth about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not they didn't just move one of the better interior defensive pass rushers for any reason.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to find a role to make it work better for him because they were having issues along the interior when he was playing the run.
Yeah.
They value different things than what Chris Jones provides from splash plays. Daniel Sorensen is not a core player. Daniel Sorensen probably shouldn't be on an NFL roster right now, even as a core special teamer. We're Anthony Hitchens. These guys are all pushing 30 or are 30.
Mm-hmm.
This is an older core, and it shows.
Yeah, it does.
And they don't look like the same guys that you saw 2 years ago, and the energy and the championship swagger does not exist. And that's a shame because, they have the best player in the world, and it sucks to see them wasting a year of this.
That's not to say they can't recapture that. I don't want to dunk on that and say that they can't recapture it, but I do think that we need to pay a little more attention to the way that they react to some of that stuff. I think Maddie's onto something there.
All right, it is time to go to tweets that we need to talk about here on the. Are we going to cut to the? Are we going to get Patrick Mahomes here?
Yeah,
we're going to go ahead and get Patrick Mahomes.
I'm not just through bad footballs at the end of the day, so it's got to be better.
Patrick, what was the word that's been thrown around as comparison? What was the conversation like in the locker room after that? You haven't lost the phone like that.
Yeah, they kind of have to just take it on the chin. You got to get better. That's at the end of the day, that's what we got to do. Still got a long season left, but it's definitely this is one you're going to remember. That's a good football team. Don't get me wrong, but we don't lose football games like that, especially at home.
You're obviously the leader of this team, and you're going to try to turn this thing around. How do you keep the guys up during a stretch like this that you guys haven't really faced?
Yeah, I mean, I think we know we have what it takes to be great. We still have a lot of the players. We've brought in a lot of great players that have been really good at other places. So we know that we have what it takes. It's about coming together now and finding a way to do that. We've had spurts here and there, offensively, defensively, special teams, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's about coming together as a team. Because in this league, it's not about good players; it's about good teams, and we have to do that. And then we're going to have to find a way. We have a tough schedule, and we got to win now. I mean, at the end of the day.
Patrick, how have you been a team that turns it over much until the last few weeks? How do you explain what's been going on with the Chargers game and today?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with me. I mean, I think 3 of them were on me. I mean, the interceptions and then the fumble at the end of the game. And so I have to correct that. I have to be better. It's something that I've not usually done in my career, but I have to reevaluate where I'm at, what decisions I'm making. So once we do that, I think we don't kind of hurt ourselves. I think we'll find ways to score points. And so I mean, turnovers are a huge deal in this league. Turnover margin usually decides games. And so it's something we have to correct as a team if we want to win these football games.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's just we're seeing different defenses that we have seen in the past. Trying to read, we have a lot of stuff where we read coverages and run routes to different spots, and we're just not on that same page. But I have the trust in these guys that we'll figure that out. If that's me knowing what they're thinking, me and them knowing what I'm thinking, and that's what makes our offense so good. So something I don't want to lose. It's just about us practicing, going to work every single day, and kind of being on that same page.
Just to clarify, it's not a guy running the wrong route as much as he's got options on the play. You guys are just not thinking.
Yeah, it's that. I mean, we kind of recognize coverages as we run routes, and that's what's made us so good over the past few years. Is as teams can have the right coverage called, but we can run a route a certain way. So guys, the guys are seeing coverages differently than I am. I mean, they're different coverages than I don't think anyone else has faced coverages like we've faced these last few games. And so once we get on the same page and kind of get that thing rolling, I think we'll be back to where we're at.
What did you see on the fourth down play in the second quarter? I know you guys on the plus side of the field, but what happened there on that play? I think you tried to scramble.
Yeah, it was. You're talking about the one we didn't get, right? Yeah, it was. We ran a play. We had a good play called man covers. They covered it well. I was kind of out route to Tyreek on the left side, so I reset back and try to find Kelsey as my kind of last read in that progression, and they covered it well. And they had a spy for me, so I was trying to decide if I was going to try to outrun them, stuff like that. And then it's fourth down, so I try to just put one up and let the big Kelsey try to make a play, and do made a good play and got a hand on it.
Patrick, Josh Gordon's first game with you guys. Your initial thoughts on
Yeah, he's someone that's going to help us, man. I mean, how physical he is. The teams are playing us in man covers like they did today, especially on third downs. Once he gets a full grasp of the offense, it's going to be hard for them to man him up. It'll take some pressure off Tyreek, take some pressure off McCole and Trav, because they kind of have guys where a lot of people focusing on them, and having a big guy like that when teams are playing man coverage is going to help us.
A couple quick ones. What do you guys call the play where the chest pass to Kelsey? Is that an interesting name? Touchdown?
Yeah, I won't say. You can ask Kelsey about it.
And on the interceptions, it seems like you've been a little snake bit or unlucky this year. I mean, Tyreek doesn't normally have it come out of his hands and go for a pick six. You feel like you've kind of been a little bit lucky before? Maybe some unluck has come your way this year?
Yeah, I think everything kind of comes back to the middle at the end of the day. So, I mean, if hopefully that if I'm unlucky now at the beginning of the season, as we get to the end of the season, it kind of goes back the other way. And so I've never been someone I've been kind of a crazier player as far as scrambling and making throws, but in my career, I've never been someone to throw a lot of interceptions. And so I kind of have to look at it now and go back and reevaluate what I'm doing and I have to cut it out. I mean, at the end of the day, if you cut out those turnovers, it's a different ballgame. I don't know if we win, but it's definitely a different ballgame.
A couple more guys. I know we're going to find out about the injury status of Clyde in the coming days. Did you say anything to him? What was the communication like at the end of the game?
Yeah, man. I mean, obviously he's upset. He wants to play. I mean, a very dejected, defeated Patrick Mahomes. And, I found it interesting kind of hearing him and saying, we know we have, what is capable of becoming a very good team. It doesn't feel like they really believe that.
And that's the vibe I kind of get, and the energy from basically everybody in that press conference. You can say what you want, and that was about as de-energized as I've seen Andy Reid, and that's about as de-energized as I've seen Patrick Mahomes in a long time.
Andy Reid said they got smoked. I mean, like, you don't hear that very often. And, of course, you're going to have somebody ask him, it's like, hey, well, did you see the game going that way? Of course not. Of course he didn't see the game going that way. But the way that he's saying it, it's not, oh, let's fix this. It's, we need both sides of the ball to play at the same time, period. Like, I mean, like, he's telling you right there, it's not good enough. We're not playing together. We're not playing complementary football. It's all bad, yeah.
Well, yeah, there was a lot of talk of playing as a team, needing everybody to play good, but that's not what this team is. That's not how this team is built. So you can get up there and preach that, and it sounds good, but this whole, as a team, it's never going to be as good as Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball to Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill. And the problem is, I do think that right now everybody else is getting in the way of that. And something else that, Patrick Mahomes kept talking about there is having to reevaluate some of the decisions that he's making.
Mm-hmm.
That scares me a little bit. It sounds like he's a little concerned. He's a little worried about the way these turnovers are going. I don't want to see this offense play more scared than they are right now. They're already laying it up a lot more than they ever have. But this offense has no explosive element to it right now. And I understand that defenses are taking it away, but there's a lot of dejected talk coming from Mahomes, from Reid about the turnovers. And I'm afraid that you're going to get more of these checkdowns. You're going to get more of these 5-yard stick routes over and over again. And the execution's good. It was versus the Eagles.
Sure.
But I'm scared of what that means because you could see it in Mahomes' face. He's concerned by how that's going right now.
The funny thing is the Chiefs were one of the a historically great offensive team coming into this game from an efficiency standpoint. They were averaging over 3.5 points per possession.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the paces that they had to this point, even with a absurdly high turnover rate. You were sitting here having all these conversations, but both things can actually be true because this offense has been extremely efficient, but it's been a lot of very methodical down the field drives, and you can see the margin for error. And the things that can really pop up when you're forced to drive the 9-10 plays, the explosive element when it's not there. A lot more mistakes can happen, and you saw that with the red zone turnover by Patrick Mahomes, the tip to Greg Rousseau, great play by him. But that was after a long sustained drive.
Well, and it felt like it forced. This was the first game where it felt like playing that longer drive, slow brand of football was being forced. It didn't feel like they were taking what was given to them. They were forcing these throws out because nothing was working downfield. Maybe that goes into Mahomes talking about not being on the same page with the receivers on these sight adjustment routes. First, these coverages seem like that's a big sticking point for them. So maybe that gets better as the season goes on, but just quit forcing the short game. Take it when it's there, but you don't have to force it. And it really felt like they were forcing it today.
Yeah.
And it really did feel like they were kind of speaking to what Patrick Mahomes talked about in the press conference. It felt like it was a little timid.
Yeah.
He was playing timid in that last quarter of the game and really getting the ball out of his hands quick, really throwing shallow, very intentional throwing shallow, throwing short of the sticks, not being confident to go grip it and rip it.
It's the short of the sticks thing.
Yeah.
That's
not we aren't used to this.
Not to a wide open man with a chance to get the first down. It was crazy to watch him throwing to covered guys that did not have an opportunity to convert it short of the stick. That's not what this offense is. That's not what Patrick Mahomes is.
All right, guys, it's time to react to some tweets. We pulled some up from during the game, and we've got plenty to discuss here, and we will get to those here in just a second. We got Sam Mellinger, our guy. That Josh Allen touchdown run looked like a huddle highlight against a smaller school.
Josh Allen ran all over this Chiefs defense. He made their linebackers and safeties look small. He really did.
Wait till we get later in the game and he sees the hurdle. Talk about a huddle highlight versus smaller high school.
Oh, I can't believe it.
Yeah, he made some plays with his legs. I mean, he was just making plays left and right.
Yeah,
and the funny thing about Josh Allen is he really wasn't completing the passes at a high rate early in the game. It was like a less than 50% or at 50%. And he was like 30 yards per completion or something.
I think he ended the game at 21 for completion.
That's crazy.
Mitchell Schwartz, former Chief. Are you effing kidding me? The state of refereeing is at an all-time low right now. I'm not entirely sure why, but it's so bad, and it's bad across the entire league. I'm pretty sure that's what Andy Reid meant in his press conference, Batty.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all know it's bad. We can all pick a handful, and this is not just that would have helped the Chiefs. There was some really bad calls for and or against that helped or hurt the Bills just as well. The referee in this game was bad, but we knew it was going to be. When we saw the referee crew, we knew it was going to be bad for this one. So, I mean,
I'll say it. Carl Sheffer sucks. Yeah.
we don't get fined for that.
We don't get fined for that.
Insert Joey Bosa, video clip of him calling out the referees from last week. And like, that's about all anybody needs to know.
Yeah, no, it's bad, egregious roughing the passer call that was right after a bad, egregious holding call on Mitch Moore. So, I mean, like, we can point both directions, unfortunately, on those drives.
All right, our guy, his Dirkness. We have multiple highlights of Chiefs defenders running the wrong way, and it's only the second quarter. It's only 5 games into the season, and we're running out of fingers to count the number of times that this has happened this year, Craig.
It's just constant. It's absolutely constant. You remember early on in the season when people were highlighting Micah Parsons dropping into coverage, it was roboting out and trying to point to him not knowing where the play is. No, the Chiefs, just watch the Chiefs defense. You got plenty of those.
You can pull up at least 3 clips from every single Chiefs game this year that is just as bad as D Ford as a rookie that Chiefs fans love to throw around out there.
Oh, my goodness.
And I know this tweet came right after Anthony Hitchens ran away from a check down to a running back. He turned around, ran away from it, then fell trying to react. And then Colin Saunders was going to get clear pressure on the first touchdown pass that Josh Allen threw. He stopped, thought it was a screen pass, went to retrace his steps, and just gave up any chance of pressure. That tweet came right after those.
Year 3 in Steve Spagnuolo's defense for both of them. You should, okay. Nick Leckie, our guy. Oh, he might know a little bit about this, but he said the Bills' defensive line is lining up to create a one-on-one with Lucas Niang. That definitely bared out during that game.
Oh, absolutely. Especially early in the game, I thought Lucas Niang, he had a little bit of trouble with it. At the beginning, he was forcing Patrick Mahomes to get off a spot because he was not ready for some of those one-on-ones. I will say, as the game went along, I thought he got a lot better. I actually think Orlando Brown was a much bigger problem as the game went on than Lucas Niang was. But at the beginning, the Bills really went out of their way to isolate him in one-on-ones versus many guys as they could just to challenge the young tackle early on.
Yeah, shift them inside, force all the protection to shift inside, and then open things up to where guys can get inside of Lucas Niang or outside. Really, really good game plan there.
Patrick Mahomes' fiance, Brittany Matthews. Y'all hit his head one more time.
That's what we're talking about, though. That's where that championship swagger. The Bills came in, wanted to rough this team up. They hit Patrick Mahomes repeatedly on the ground without any calls. With those slides, they weren't calling him. So they're going to keep doing it because they want to get in his head. They want to get in this team's head.
They dropped on his head a lot, and I don't think any of it was dirty. I mean, I can think they were definitely dropping on him. That was very borderline penalty, but they weren't penalized for it. Nobody was throwing full weight shots. No. They were just laying on him as much as they possibly could, and it did look pretty bad. Who for the Chiefs, though? Who from the Chiefs had any kind of physicality or just energy like those Bills, just the Bills' defensive line did hitting Patrick Mahomes? No one. Yeah. There was no energy there until the second half.
All right, we started with Mellinger. We're going to end with Mellinger. This pass hit one of the NFL's best receivers in the hand and then was returned for a pick 6. If that doesn't tell you about how, and this was after, like you said, a 3-and-out from the defense. If that doesn't just explain everything about how this night went, I don't know what does, Maddie.
I think you would even go back earlier. Wasn't it the first drive where the Chiefs settled for a field goal where the ball hit one of the NFL's best wide receivers right in the face and they had to settle for a field goal? I mean, that's an unfortunate thing that Tyreek Hill goes through. Now, that play in particular wasn't going to be a first down, but you take a not good play for the Chiefs and make it as bad as possible, and that sums up this game.
Pretty much microcosm of it right there.
All right, well, it's time to sum up this show, and we're going to give you guys both a chance. Craig, final thoughts today.
Oh, man, I'm not looking forward to watching this defensive performance in the first half, but I am curious to see kind of the way that they played in the second half. They looked a little bit better. It was good to see a response, but overall, still nowhere near good enough.
I may be dreading watching this just offensive scheme as much as Craig is dreading watching the defense. Because I've said it a couple of times. I don't know what they're doing offensively. It looks like the key to beating the Chiefs is to play zone coverage most of the time, play man coverage against them in the game, and the Chiefs will look completely inept unless they're throwing YOLO balls to Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill.
Well, I want to make sure before we get out of here, we want to make sure to thank the Holiday Distillery for a wonderful party, a KCSN party, subscriber-only show or party that we had here on Saturday. It was a wonderful time. If you haven't gotten out there, make sure you go check it out in Weston, Missouri. It is a wonderful experience. I promise you, you will not regret it. The tour alone was worth it. But
can confirm.
Wonderful cocktails, wonderful vibe, a lot of really cool things they have going on. Make sure you go check that out. A special shout out to them. And a special shout out to all of you for watching on a Monday morning.
Whew.
as the Kansas City Chiefs get embarrassed 38-20 by the Buffalo Bills. Thank you for spending some time and watching this show and helping us all process and break this thing down. That is going to do it for us here on the KCSN live post-game show. We'll catch you later.